Discover how a single dad janitor with a mop shockingly transformed a schoolyard attack into hope. Jake's hands gripped the mop handle tightly as he moved through the bright hallways of Riverside Elementary. The laughter of children spilled from the classrooms like bubbling soda, vibrant and carefree. But today felt different. Shadows whispered of unkindness lurking just beyond the cheerful exteriors. As a janitor in this small suburban town, Jake's heart beat not just for his job, but for the little girl waiting at home. His daughter, Lily, was the spark in his otherwise dim world. After all, this paint-chipped playground was their universe, a space filled with dreams despite life's challenges. With each swish of the mop, Jake's thoughts flickered to Lily's sweet smile, her bright eyes brimming with innocence. She was the reason he rose early every morning, the reason he brushed aside fatigue and judgment from others. They had built this modest home together, a sanctuary filled with laughter, love, and the fragrance of cookies fresh out of the oven. Yet, as Jake crossed the playground on this crisp autumn afternoon, he stumbled upon a scene that ripped through his heart like a jagged thorn. A boy, small and timid, was huddled against the cold ground, his thick glasses askew, while a group of kids loomed over him, voices sharp and cruel. Anger unfurled in Jake's chest, tightening like a vice. His instincts screamed to protect this boy. Images of Lily being bullied flashed in his mind. How could he let this happen? Taking a deep breath, he approached the scene. "Hey!" His voice roared like thunder, surprising everyone. The laughter stopped. Eyes turned toward him, wide with shock. "Leave him alone!" he demanded, fury igniting in his voice. He felt the weight of judgment from parents watching, whispers of just a janitor echoing in the background. But this wasn't about him, it was about showing that kindness was stronger than cruelty. His words struck the air like arrows, each one aimed at the hearts of those gathered. As they backed off, Jake felt his heart race. He had taken a stand, but he knew this was only the beginning. In the following weeks, Jake organized meetings, reaching out to local experts on anti-bullying campaigns. He swung into action, pushing for change while feeling the weight of the community's skepticism. "What can a janitor do?" they nudged, rolling their eyes, but Jake was undeterred. He stood up, again and again, challenged but fierce. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let us continue, yet the more Jake fought, the clearer the resistance became. Parents whispered about his authority, and soon, classmates of Lily began to turn indifferent, influenced by the very prejudice he sought to dismantle. The heartbreak twisted in his gut. He was fighting not just for justice but for the bright future of his daughter. As whispers grew louder, Jake found himself standing on the edge of a cliff, the weight of the world pressing down. Could he shield Lily from this storm? Just when hope flickered like autumn leaves in the wind, a betrayal shattered his resolve, creating a chasm between father and daughter. Would he falter now, or rise to show her the true meaning of courage? The playground, once a scene of laughter, now held the potential for change or despair. Would Jake's plea empower the community, or deepen the divide? The battle for their future was only just beginning. The following morning, the sun rose with a golden glow over Riverside Elementary, casting long shadows on the playground. Jake's heart raced as he prepared for the day ahead. It was more daunting than any he had faced before. He had felt the sting of betrayal from Lily, whose laughter now echoed like distant thunder in his memory. She had pulled away, caught in a whirlwind of middle school drama that blurred the lines of friendship, loyalty, and trust. Jake leaned against the cool brick wall outside, gripping his mop like a lifeline. Today, he hoped to create a ripple, a movement of change, starting with one small act of kindness. He wanted Lily to see that even in shadows, there was light to hold on to. But could he convince her? Would the community rally together, or would it spiral deeper into darkness? As he stepped inside the school, The overwhelming noise of voices pricked at his nerves. Children dashed to their classes, teachers dulled by the night's weariness shuffled paperwork, and parents whispered critically. But today, Jake made a promise to himself. He would change the narrative. He organized a lunchtime assembly. "Let us talk about kindness," he announced boldly, standing at the edge of the courtyard with a few students gathered around, including the reluctant boy from yesterday, Alex. Jake felt a rush of hope. They were listening, even if only a little. "Kindness costs nothing, but it can change lives," he continued, locking his gaze on the group. "I know it's easy to follow the crowd, but true courage is standing up for someone when it's hard." The kids shifted uneasily, but he pressed on. He wanted to encourage a spark, something to ignite their empathy. Word spread, and slowly he started to see change. Students began to reach out to Alex, playing with him during recess. Laughter, once a soundtrack of scorn, transformed into welcoming harmony. Jake's heart swelled with pride and relief, but much to his dismay, he watched as Lily kept her distance, her eyes clouded with curiosity and confusion. "Dad, why do you care so much?" she questioned one evening when Jake returned home. The kitchen was filled with the familiar aroma of freshly baked cookies, but her tone fell flat. "You're just a janitor." Just a janitor. The words cut deep, the innocence behind her eyes mingling with the harsh realities of growing up. He'd fought hard to break that mold, but with every passing day, he could feel the gap widening. Jake tried to wash away the sting of her words with a reassuring smile. "It's not about me, Lily," he replied, his voice steady but his heart trembling. "It's about creating a safe space for all of us." The silence hung heavy in the air. She met his gaze with uncertainty, the flicker of understanding battling her pride. Was she too far gone, or was there still a chance for connection? The next day, standing in the halls cluttered with children, Jake was determined to bridge the gap. He approached Lily's classroom, heart hammering in his chest. As he opened the door, he peered inside to see her and her friends whispering, their giggles lighting up the room. But then something unexpected happened. A student from the back, a boy Jake recognized as one of their tormentors, stood up hesitantly. "Lily, I'm sorry for what happened before." The class fell silent, eyes wide with surprise. Could this moment change everything? Would it spark something greater, not only in Lily but in the entire community? Jake's hope flickered again, strong and unwavering, but then the boy's next words sent a chill through the room. "I don't believe we should change for that nerd." Would Jake's fight for kindness crumble again, or could this be the moment that transformed it all? The stakes had never been higher, and the next steps felt more crucial than ever. The air in the classroom was electric, charged with the weight of tension. Jake felt it too, a knot tightening in his stomach. He stood frozen at the doorway, pulse racing as he braced himself for the fallout of that one careless comment. Lily's expression shifted from mild confusion to a flash of anger. She shot up from her seat, the chair scraping loudly against the floor. "That's not fair," she called out, her voice clear and strong. Jake's heart soared at her defense, but it quickly plummeted when he saw the way the other kids turned toward her with mixed looks of support and disdain. A murmur of chatter erupted, a wild cacophony where kindness seemed to get lost. "Why are you defending him?" one of her friends sneered. "He doesn't belong with us." Jake felt the walls around his heart begin to crack. Every part of him wanted to rush in, to say something profound, something that would bring them back to the promise of kindness. But what could he say that would matter in this moment? "Oh, really? And who decided that?" Lily shot back, standing firm, though Jake could see the tremor in her hands as she glared at her peers. "He has every right to be here, just like all of us." That took guts. Jake felt a swell of pride in his daughter. But then, a soft laugh cut through the tension. Alex, the boy they had been talking about all along, stood up from the corner of the room. With hesitant confidence, he rubbed the back of his neck. "Thanks, Lily, but I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable." The class fell silent once more. The words hung heavy in the air, like a storm cloud ready to rain. Jake met Alex's gaze, sensing his vulnerability. The world felt like it was on the edge of change, yet still teetering dangerously. See? One of the girls piped up offhandedly, her dismissal slicing through the moment like a blade. He knows it. We don't want him here. It was a wound that Jake felt all the way in his chest. The laughter from earlier slammed into him like a crashing wave. He looked at Lily, searching for any sign that she still believed in the mission of kindness. But instead, her eyes brimmed with frustration and hurt. Stop. Just stop. Jake blurted out without thinking. The rush of emotion escaped him like a flood, desperate and raw. This is exactly what we're trying to change. The class turned to him, mouths agape, surprised that the janitor had dropped in on their moment. Maybe being a janitor means I'm the one who cleans up the messes we make with words and actions. But it's not about my job, it's about who we are as people, he said, voice steady and loud. We can choose to be better. We can choose kindness. Silence enveloped the room. Lily's eyes searched his, the familiar glimmer of understanding reflecting back. Yet, not everyone was convinced. Why should we care? A voice called out from the back, defiant and cold. It shook Jake. He took a deep breath, knowing the moment was slipping away. Before he could respond, Lily broke in again, because everyone deserves a chance. Even if it's just one small act of kindness, that's how we become better. He noticed how hesitation slipped from her shoulders like shedding a heavy coat. The others stared. Were they processing this new perspective, or were they still bound to the weight of their past? Jake's heart raced, not knowing if their words had made a dent in the hardened shell of indifference. Outside the door, life continued as normal kids laughed, played, and confronted their own fears. But in here, the battle lines seemed to deepen. What would it take for them to change? As he withdrew, he felt a glimmer of hope mixed with uncertainty. He had lit the fire, but could it truly grow? Across the hall, he noticed Lily whispering to her friend, a cautious smile beginning to spread across her face, yet doubt remained. Jake knew the fight was far from over, but this was just the beginning. Would their actions sow seeds of change, or would the shadows they cast now remain forever? Jake stepped out of the classroom, heart still racing from the whirlwind of emotions. He leaned against the cool, beige wall of the hallway, his thoughts a chaotic swirl. He couldn't shake off the feeling that he had merely scratched the surface of something much deeper. The words of the kids echoed in his mind, a constant reminder of the cruelty that existed in their seemingly innocent world. As he gathered his thoughts, the sound of footsteps approached. It was Lily, her face flushed but her eyes sparkled with resolve. Dad! She reached him, nearly panting from the rush. Did you hear what I said? I mean, it felt like I was fighting for something important. Jake's chest compressed with pride. You were brave, honey. So brave. I couldn't have said it better myself. But what if they still don't listen? She bit her lip, glancing back toward the classroom. What if they only see me as a weirdo for defending Alex? Sometimes standing up for what's right makes you feel isolated at first. But trust me, it's in those moments that you find the people who truly matter. He smiled, but a worry nagged at him. Would the class really change, or would they dismiss her courage as just another teenage outburst? Lily exhaled heavily. I hope they understand. I wish Alex would see that he belongs too. Maybe if he just spoke up in that moment, Jake felt a surge of purpose. What if we helped him find his voice? We can't be the only ones who believe he has a place here. Lily's eyes lit up. Yeah. If everyone helps, maybe it'll make it easier for him? Jake nodded, feeling the warmth of hope course through him. Let us plan something. Maybe we can organize a group to show support for Alex. A club or a gathering, anything to celebrate kindness. Make it cool to be nice. Like a kindness crew or something? She grinned. Exactly. A way to invite everyone, including Alex. The initial burst of excitement morphed into a resolve as they walked to the other side of the building. They would approach more kids, share their vision of kindness, and open a conversation. It was a small step, but Jake felt it could ignite an important shift. As they rounded a corner, Jake spotted Alex standing by the lockers, visibly discomforted as classmates brushed past him, absorbed in their own worlds. An idea sparked in Jake's mind. Turning to Lily, he whispered, "Let us invite him." Together. Lily took a deep breath and nodded. "Okay, let us do it." They approached Alex cautiously. He looked up, uncertainty etched on his face. "Hey, Alex," Lily said, her voice a mix of nervousness and determination. "Can we talk to you for a second?" The boy shifted his weight, the hesitation palpable. "About what?" "About something exciting," Jake chimed in, hoping to ease the tension. "We were thinking of starting a group, a kindness crew. You should join us." Alex blinked, taken aback. "Me?" "Yes, you," Lily urged, her voice growing stronger with each word. "We want to gather people who believe everyone deserves respect and kindness, and I think you should be part of it." The silence that followed felt heavy. Jake watched Alex's face, desperately hoping for a spark of interest. Behind them, the hallway buzzed with the energy of kids, laughter reverberating off the cinderblock walls. Finally, a tentative smile broke through Alex's uncertainty. "You really want me?" "Absolutely," Jake replied, seeing the flicker of hope in the boy's eyes. "You belong with us." But just as tension began to give way to excitement, Lily's friend from before approached, face twisted in disbelief. "What? You're inviting him? We don't need him." Jake's heart sank. This was the reality they were up against, so close to change, yet met with such force. He exchanged worried glances with Lily and Alex, knowing the battle wasn't just against ignorance but against deeply ingrained beliefs. "Maybe we can change their minds together," Lily whispered to Jake, her eyes full of determination. "Together," he replied, squeezing her shoulder. But would they find a way to break through to the others, or would they only face more opposition? The tide felt uncertain, like they were riding a wave that could crash at any moment. Lily's friend crossed her arms defiantly, her gaze steady but filled with contempt. The hallway seemed to shrink around them, muffling the laughter and chatter of their classmates. Jake felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He could sense the shift in atmosphere, an invisible barrier forming between them and the rest of the students. "Seriously? He doesn't fit in. Why would you want to invite him?" the girl demanded. Her voice dripped with a mix of scorn and disbelief. Alex's face fell, tension palpable in the air. Jake could see the hurt creeping into Alex's eyes, and he wanted nothing more than to wipe that doubt away. "Because everyone deserves a chance," Jake said, trying to inject calm into the spiraling situation. "It's about building a community, not pushing anyone out." But the girl scoffed, making a vague hand gesture toward Alex. "This is a joke. You think people want to join a group with him?" She smirked, glancing at the small crowd that had started to gather, curiosity etched on their faces. "Enough!" Lily exclaimed, her voice quivering but fierce. "You don't get to decide who belongs." Her bravery made Jake's heart swell with pride. He watched as she took a bold step forward, her eyes locking with the girl, her chin lifted defiantly. "Maybe some people don't understand what it feels like to be an outsider," Lily continued, her voice steadying. "But I do. And my friends do too. That's why we are fighting for Alex." Jake glanced at Alex, whose expression had shifted from uncertainty to something that resembled gratitude. This small moment made Jake's heart race. The idea of a kindness crew was more than just a concept, it was morphing into something tangible, something powerful. "Right. Stay strong, buddy," Jake said quietly to Alex, his heart urging him to keep pushing. He turned again to the growing group. "This isn't just about Alex. It's about learning to be better, to respect one another." The crowd shifted, their expressions blending a mix of curiosity and defiance. They were listening now, and that was a start. "Well, count me out," the girl spat, turning on her heel and storming away as she tossed a dismissive glance over her shoulder. A wave of murmurs rippled through the group as if they were awakening from a daze. Jake felt the air shift slightly, and it filled him with hope. Maybe, just maybe, they had planted a seed. "Let us get together to talk more about this," Lily said, her enthusiasm infectious. "It'll be fun. We can plan activities and maybe even bake cookies. Everybody likes cookies, Jake added to lighten the mood, and to his surprise a few students chuckled. But what if we get more negativity? Alex's voice trembled slightly. What if they just laugh at us? Jake crouched close to Alex, making sure not to miss the vulnerability behind his eyes. You'll have us, Alex. You won't go through this alone. We're in this together, no matter what. That's right. You matter too, Lily said, her voice ringing with sincerity. Let us turn the tide. Show them that kindness can be the new cool. Slowly, hesitant but curious smiles began to appear on more faces. There was a flicker of change, a hint of possibility that lit up the air around them. As they gathered some volunteers to brainstorm ideas for their kindness crew, a girl with bright red hair stepped forward. I want to help, she declared, and that sparked a domino effect. One after another, kids began to filter in, curious and warm-hearted, willing to create something spectacular. But just as the atmosphere started to blossom with potential, the door to the hallway swung open with a bang. A group of older students stepped in, their faces serious and intimidating. Jake's heart sank as he recognized them. He had seen their reputation etched in the fear on younger kids' faces. Looks like a damn meeting, one of them sneered, scanning the group with contempt. Jake exchanged a worried glance with Lily and Alex. The moment of unity they had fought for suddenly felt fragile. Would the hope they were nurturing be snuffed out by this unexpected challenge? As the tension crackled, Jake found himself wondering, was their fight about to begin anew? The older students swaggered into the hallway, their presence heavy and oppressive. Jake felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. He looked over at Lily, whose grip on Alex's shoulder had tightened. Alex's eyes darted around, scanning for a way out rather than a way through. Hey, are you guys putting together some kind of club for losers? Another boy sneered, crossing his arms like a shield. The laughter that followed from his friends echoed like knives in Jake's heart. No! Lily shot back, her voice shaking with defiance. We're forming the kindness crew. It's about building a safe space for everyone. Safe space? The first boy laughed, mocking a high-pitched tone. Who needs a safety net? You guys are just scared of people who actually know how to have fun. In that moment, Jake's instincts flared. He stepped forward, squarely facing the older students. You don't get it. This isn't just a joke. It's about lifting each other up instead of tearing each other down. What are you gonna do about it? The second boy shot back, an arrogant smirk playing on his lips. Jake's heart raced. They could feel the anxiety in the room turn into a rolling wave. Some kids backed away, others looked uncertain, but a small group stayed behind him, a mix of solidarity and nerves in their expressions. Let us just go, man, whispered one of the older boys. He seemed less interested in bullying than in keeping the peace, but Jake stood firm. No one's going anywhere. Not until we're done. He caught sight of Alex's face, and something in him solidified. This wasn't just about them anymore. It was about everyone who had ever felt excluded, like they were on the outside looking in. A ripple of tension hung in the air. Suddenly, Lily's voice broke through the silence. You can laugh all you want, but we're making a difference. We're going to make this school better for everyone, even for you. Her voice rang out, brave and unchanged despite the storm around them. Touché, one of the older boys, a girl with dark sunglasses, said with a smirk. So touching. But let us see how long that lasts. Worthless efforts like this don't last 5 minutes in this school. Jake felt a surge of anger, but underneath it was the glimmer of hope. Was it possible that, in the midst of this chaos, they could turn it into something different? As the older kids continued to taunt them, a few more students quietly began to echo Lily's sentiments. Yeah. We're all part of this. Someone shouted from the back. Jake's heart pounded in his chest. He watched as some faces shifted, determination slowly replacing doubt. With a deep breath, he stepped back beside Lily and Alex, putting a protective arm around both of them. You see? He said, his voice a mix of passion and vulnerability. We're not afraid of your negativity. We're stronger together. The tension was still thick, like fog ready to lift. One of the older boys rolled his eyes, but there was uncertainty there. The crowd around Jake began to stand a little taller. Just as Jake thought they might break through, a loud crash boomed from the back of the hallway. The crowd gasped and turned, only to spot the janitor, Mr. Thompson, holding a mop and bucket. With a twinkle in his eye and a wide grin, he announced, "Who knew a school needed a spotlight? You all are making quite a scene." Jake glanced back, confused. Mr. Thompson didn't he look intimidated? Instead, he seemed genuinely amused. "Mr. Thompson," Lily called out, surprised. Unfazed by the grouping of older kids, the janitor chuckled. "Looks like a real community gathering. And if you asked me, why can't kindness be a school project, At that moment, Jake's heart swelled with a new kind of hope. If Mr. Thompson believed in them, maybe others would too. But as the older kids bristled, Jake thought of their next challenge. Could they really keep standing strong when faced with so much hostility? Would they be able to rise above the fear? And just then, he realized it wasn't just about Alex or any individual. It was about everyone learning to stand up together. The question now loomed large: would their newfound courage be enough to push through the storm? As the past hung heavy in the air, Jake's resolve promised that they would try. Mr. Thompson's spark of humor broke the tension slightly, but the older students remained unmoved, still crowded like wolves ready to pounce. The laughter was fading, yet the disdain in their eyes was replaced slowly with something else: curiosity, perhaps, or even a hint of uncertainty. "Do you think a mop can wipe away a mess of losers?" The girl in sunglasses shot back, her voice dripping with contempt. "There's nothing to gather here that protection from a few cleaning supplies can fix." Jake felt the heat rising within him again. He clenched his fists, but before he could respond, Mr. Thompson spoke, his tone steady. "You know," he said, shifting his weight to lean against the mop, "a little bit of kindness can scrub away a lot of grime. You might not see it, but that kind of mess isn't just physical, it's emotional, too." There was a ripple of murmurs from the gathered students, and Jake could see glimmers of understanding light up in some of their eyes. Lily took a tiny step forward, emboldened by Mr. Thompson's unexpected support. "This isn't just about us. It's about everyone, about building trust, about being there for others in their moment of need, just like Mr. Thompson said." With her voice gaining strength, the message seemed to resonate and spread through the crowd. "We want a kind school, one where everyone feels seen and supported, not pushed around because of some silly reputation." "Right," a quieter boy shouted. "We're tired of feeling scared to walk these halls." Jake felt a prickling at the back of his neck. Hope soared in him, igniting a fast rhythm in his heart. The older boys seemed less confident now, caught off guard by the spontaneous pushback from their peers. "Guess they really are kind of cute when they try to be all brave," the first boy sneered, but the usual bite didn't reach his tone. Something was shifting, a crack forming in the wall of hostility surrounding them. As things unfolded, Jake noticed Alex, who had been quiet through it all, now seemed charged with determination. "And you know what? If you think you can keep intimidating us, we're ready to stand up and fight back. Not with fists or mean words, but with kindness." The air felt electric. The older kids stole glances at one another, their bravado flickering. "Let us talk then," the girl with sunglasses finally said, her confidence wavering. "What exactly do you think you can do to change anything here?" Taking a deep breath, Jake raised his voice. "We can start by being friends instead of enemies. Let us come together. Why does this school have to be a battleground?" The chatter of murmurs rolled through the crowd, and Jake could hear the first hints of agreement. Mr. Thompson, still leaning casually on his mop, smiled. "You know something? The next time you think about stepping on someone, remember how that feels, because words can hurt deeper than any punch." Jake felt a weight lift, for it was true. For the first time, the students occupying both sides of the hallway started to hesitate. Some exchanged looks filled with confusion. Was this really happening? Could they truly find a way to break the cycle? Just as hope began to spread like wildfire, one of the older boys sneered, Fine, whatever. But kindness won't save you from the reality of this place. He turned and walked away with his crew, and yet the path they took was unlike before, less aggressive, more introspective. Seeing that, Jake's heart raced. We can turn this around, he shouted after them. Our kindness could be your strength too. You don't have to hide behind fear anymore. Lily nudged him gently. You're really going for it, aren't you? He nodded determinedly. If we can change even one mind, it's worth it. But in the back of his mind, a question lingered. Could they really change the culture of the school, or were they just skimming the surface of a much deeper issue? The sound of Mr. Thompson's mop hitting the floor echoed, and for the first time, Jake felt that maybe, just maybe, they were on a path to building something stronger than they had ever imagined. And what would their next steps mean for those in the shadows, still unsure of where they fit? The air hung heavy after the older students left, leaving a silence that felt almost tangible. Jake looked around. His classmates were wide-eyed, yet there was a glimmer of hope in the depths of their expressions. It was fragile, almost like a newly sprouted plant pushing through layers of soil. Did you see that? Alex exclaimed, his voice barely above a whisper. They hesitated. They actually hesitated. Jake felt a swell of pride. Yeah, he said, a grin spreading across his face. Maybe we really can change this. Lily stepped closer, her expression brightening. If we keep pressing, we can gather even more of us. Imagine what it would be like if everyone felt safe here. Mr. Thompson nodded, leaning back against his mop. You guys have the courage to confront something most adults shy away from. It's admirable. But as the praise filled the air, a nagging worry crept into Jake's mind. What if this moment was just a fluke? What if the older kids decided to retaliate harder? He couldn't shake off the unease. Right, but they won't just give up, Jake said, trying to temper the excitement. What happens next time? They could come back angrier. That's just a chance we take, Lily replied, her voice resolute. If we stand together, they'll think twice before they act. As they spoke, more students were gathering, pulled by the buzz of their conversation. Each new face brought a sense of solidarity as they huddled closer, surrounding their makeshift stage. Did you see the way they walked away? A girl from the back piped up. What if we just kept showing them kindness? Yeah. Someone else chimed in. What if they don't know how to respond because they've never experienced it? Mr. Thompson watched the spark growing in the group. You already have the tools, you just need to keep believing in them. Kindness can break down walls. Keep reaching out. Jake felt his heart race again. So, what can we do? He asked, trying to capture the energy of the moment. The suggestion of action made everyone turn to him, anticipation building. Let us plan a kindness week. Alex burst out. We can do things like leaving positive notes around school, or starting a Pay It Forward initiative. Just little things that show we care. The suggestion lit up the circle of students. They nodded, murmuring excitedly, sharing ideas as if they were building something monumental. Excitement bubbled over, fueling their spirits. They began discussing logistics, jotting down more ideas, forming teams to coordinate events. It felt like the school had shifted just a little, and for the first time, there was a shared purpose sparking in the air. A sudden thought struck Jake. What about the teachers? They need to be on board too. Maybe if we get them involved, they can help reinforce our message. Lily's eyes widened. Great point. They could help us spread the word about Kindness Week and share their own stories. As they continued brainstorming, a wave of laughter erupted, their voices weaving together, crafting a tapestry of hope. But just then, Jake's phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out and saw a notification pop up, a video titled Confronting Bullies, One Student's Journey. His stomach dropped. Maybe it was a sign. What if they weren't just setting themselves up for success, but walking into the very fire they were trying to extinguish? He glanced back up, meeting Mr. Thompson's gaze. The janitor seemed to sense the tension weaving its way through Jake. You're all on the right track, he said softly, but remember that every journey has its bumps. You might discover more about yourselves than you expect. Jake nodded, swallowing hard. He didn't share his fears, but as hopeful as this meeting felt, he couldn't help but worry. Would the kindness they initiated be enough in the face of real challenge? As they broke up and walked into different directions, he felt the weight of uncertainty settle in his chest. Was this just the beginning of a fight worth having? Or a naive leap into an uncertain future? He took a deep breath. One thing was for sure, they'd have to brace themselves for whatever lay ahead. And if they could truly change one heart, maybe change could spread faster than he ever thought possible. As he took a step towards his next class, the thought haunted him. What if they uncovered something deeper, something they weren't ready for? The next day felt different. The sunlight filtered through the classroom windows, painting warm stripes on the floor. Jake walked in, but the usual chatter was dimmed by an undercurrent of apprehension. His classmates exchanged glances, their excitement from yesterday overshadowed by doubts. "Hey, Jake," Lily greeted, though her voice lacked its usual luster. "Did you see?" She trailed off, glancing toward the back of the room where whispers swirled. Before he could ask, Alex burst in, his face flushed. "They're here," he blurted, his eyes wide. "The older kids, I mean. They're hanging around outside." Panic set in. Jake's heart raced as he exchanged worried looks with Lily. "What do we do?" "Stay calm," she replied, though her own hand trembled slightly. "We can't let them ruin what we started." Jake took a deep breath, trying to channel the courage he had felt the day before. "Let us focus on our plans. We're not backing down. We're having kindness week, even if they're out there." The group huddled together and exchanged ideas, determined not to back away from the challenge they had embraced. Their mission became clearer, fueled by the fear of their school being overshadowed by bullying again. This was about them, about standing together no matter what. Reinforcement was key. They decided to create a flyer highlighting their kindness initiatives, filled with uplifting messages and encouragement. As they sketched out their ideas on the classroom whiteboard, Jake felt a flicker of hope ignite. Then, just as they finished, the bell rang. Students poured into the hallways, the air buzzing with anticipation. Jake's heart pounded as they made their way outside. A knot of older students stood near the entrance, their laughter echoing through the air. "Look," Alex said, pointing discreetly. "They're just watching." "They're sizing us up," Jake muttered, shifting uneasily. A lump formed in his throat. Were they really prepared to face these challenges? He didn't know. But he felt a hand on his shoulder. It was Mr. Thompson. "You guys are doing something brave," he said, his voice low and steady. "Remember that the power of kindness is stronger than threats. Believe in yourselves." With those words, Jake felt his resolve return. They couldn't let fear take hold. "All right, let us get going," Jake declared, stepping forward. The group approached the older kids, their hearts pounding like thunder in their chests. As they passed by, Jake kept his focus straight ahead. He was determined not to show fear. One of the older boys smirked. "Look at them, all huddled up like they're about to fight. Or start a little kindness club," another laughed, rolling his eyes. Jake clenched his fists but remembered Mr. Thompson's words. Kindness was their shield now. "We're starting a kindness week," he shouted back, surprising even himself. "You should join us." The laughter faded for a brief moment. Jake felt like the world had paused. Then he met the gaze of one girl in the group. There was something different in her expression. Confusion? Was it doubt? Just then, a few kids from his group began to echo him, repeating phrases of encouragement and positivity. It was like a wave, pushing back against the shadow the older kids had cast. "Join us," Lily shouted, holding up the flyer. "We're spreading kindness around here." Jake's stomach twisted with nerves, but he felt a rush of pride swelling in his chest. Maybe this was what they needed, one loud voice in a sea of silence. The older kids exchanged glances. Jake held his breath, waiting for the thunderous fallout he feared, yet it never came. Instead, a few of them shifted awkwardly. Maybe they hadn't expected this. Then someone yelled from the side. "What a bunch of losers!" The mood shifted abruptly. The laughter resumed, but the air felt different, more fragile. Jake could see that the older kids were starting to hesitate, glancing at one another, unsure. Were they actually starting to think? Jake couldn't believe it. This was far from over, but they had sparked something, maybe even a flicker of doubt in their aggressors. Once again, doubt creeped in. As hope battled with fear in his chest, he thought about what lay ahead for them. Would they falter in this uncharted territory? Just keep pushing, he whispered to himself, glancing back at his friends rallying behind him. And as they turned to rejoin the flow of students, Jake couldn't shake off the feeling that they were just beginning to tap into something powerful, something beyond kindness. What new trials awaited them in their journey? Would their bravery be enough to make an even bigger impact? The air buzzed with anticipation on the first day of Kindness Week. Brightly colored posters adorned the hallways, filled with love notes and cheerful reminders that kindness was a choice they could all embrace. Jake watched from the sidelines, heart swelling with pride as students shared their messages, exchanging laughter and smiles. Maybe this would be the spark of change they all needed. Lily rushed in, her excitement bubbling over. "Dad, you won't believe how many people showed up." She grabbed his hand, pulling him towards the activities. They were surrounded by their friends, making positive notes, decorating the hallways, and even arranging a bake sale to share sweet treats. The warmth of community wrapped around them like a protective blanket. With each passing hour, Jake felt the weight of doubt lift. He saw kids, some who used to stand on the sidelines, stepping up and engaging with others, filtering into conversations filled with hope instead of judgment. It was an incredible sight. Even Alex stood tall, his confidence brightening as he baked brownies alongside the crowd. Watching that transformation filled Jake with an indescribable warmth, as if he was witnessing the very essence of what it meant to belong. But then, an unexpected whisper. Someone had joked about the rehearsed speeches on kindness. A group of boys snickered and shot sideways glances, and the laughter shifted. Jake's heart dropped. The world had felt brighter just moments before, yet that cloud of uncertainty loomed again. He glanced at Lily, searching for reassurance, but her enthusiasm wavered as she caught wind of the remarks. "Don't let them get to you," Jake encouraged, kneeling beside her. "What you're doing is noble." "Is it enough?" she asked, her brow furrowing. "What if, Lily, remember the smallest acts can create ripples of change. Let us keep pushing." With renewed determination, Jake guided Lily to the middle of the courtyard. "Everyone! How about we shout out one thing we love about kindness?" he called out, rallying the crowd. Students nodded, and soon voices soared. "I love how it makes people smile. Kindness makes everyone feel included." Slowly, the fear began to dissipate, replaced with laughter and celebration. They were uniting, igniting a force of positivity. The snickers faded into the background, overshadowed by declarations of support filling the air. But just as hope began to cement itself in the crowd, the doors swung open dramatically, revealing two of the older boys from the previously antagonistic group. The buzz faded into an uncomfortable hush. Would they retaliate? Jake braced himself, ready to defend what they had built. But what came next surprised him. "Look at this whole kindness thing," the taller boy declared, his voice dripping with faux enthusiasm. "What a big group of happy people. How adorable." Jake prepared for the inevitable mockery but noticed something different. Their expressions seemed less confident. They exchanged glances, uncertainty flickering like candle flames. Before Jake could respond, Lily stepped forward. "You're welcome to join us. This isn't about being adorable. It's about making this school a better place for everyone." The crowd held its breath. For a moment, disbelief rippled through the air. The shorter boy hesitated, scanning the faces gathered. "You really think this will work?" he teased, but somewhere in the tone, something else was coming through. "Yes," Lily replied, her voice strong, unwavering. "Because kindness is worth it. We're not afraid of standing up for what is right, and you shouldn't be either." Before Jake realized it, the crowd erupted with cheer once more. They were moving from isolation into solidarity, rallying for one another, wrestling hope into existence. Then, rather unexpectedly, the taller boy dropped his bravado. "You know what? Maybe people should try being nice. We could at least give it a shot." Jake's heart soared. Could this be the breakthrough they so desperately needed? The boys exchanged another glance before stepping back, nudging their way toward the crowd who gathered around Jake, Lily, and Alex. "Yes." Lily beamed. "You belong too." A few students from both sides began to mingle, hesitantly starting conversations, breaking down invisible barriers. A ripple of laughter broke the tension, a clear sign of reconciliation amidst chaos. As the day continued, Jake could hardly believe the progress they had made. He felt an overwhelming sense of purpose wash over him. That night, after dinner, Lily settled on the couch, her eyes sparkling with inspiration. "Dad, we have to keep this going. Being kind isn't just a week. We need to make it a lifestyle." "Absolutely," he grinned, clarity settling in. "This could be an ongoing movement. It's a community we've built together, and it's going to bring us even closer." They set plans for a team to keep spreading joy, forging friendships, and sharing messages of kindness. And as the weeks rolled on, Jake couldn't help but feel that they had sparked something larger than themselves, a growing momentum that would ripple through the school long after they were gone. The shadows that once clung to the hallways began to fade into the brightness of hope. A community nourished by love and cleanliness was emerging from the hard-fought battle. In their hearts, they now held the knowledge that kindness wasn't simply an act. It was a revolution they could carry forward. Now, the playground echoed not with echoes of past torment but with cheerful laughter and connections that ran deeper than anyone ever thought possible. They had transformed the narrative, proving that even the most unexpected heroes could rise up and change the world. And for Jake, witnessing his daughter grow into a champion of love made his heart swell with gratitude. Their shared journey had forged not only community bonds, but a stronger father-daughter connection filled with warmth, laughter, and the promise of brighter tomorrows. This was just the beginning. You need to subscribe now. Don't wait not even one more second to share this inspiring journey of transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your thoughts on this heartwarming ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel the power of kindness. This is the moment to show your support and join the movement.